Hello, everyone. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes just to let any last people coming in a chance to log on. Hi, everyone. We'll be started soon. We're just giving it a few more minutes for other people to join. Okay, we'll be starting now. Thank you for joining the Funding Your Dreams webinar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Guerrero. I am the Writing and Rhetoric Fellow at the Dream Center. My pronouns are she, hers, ella, and I am also currently a University of Utah student. I am in the Writing and Rhetoric department. And then I will pass it along to Cynthia so she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia Rosado Veronica and my pronouns are she, hers, ella, and I am the Dream Center intern. I am also a student at SLIC and I'm majoring in nursing and sociology. And so this is just a quote that we often use in our office. It goes, "They thought they could bury us, they didn't know we were seeds." And we just really think it exemplifies the undocumented community and all of the struggles and sacrifices that they continue to face and continue to overcome. So this is just kind of to go over the agenda for tonight. We're going to go over a state policy, which is SB 253. We're kind of going to go over what scholarships students might want to focus on, and then a little more into actually applying for scholarships, like the requirements, personal statements versus prompts. We'll even go over an essay question and an example, and as well as letters of recommendation, persistency in applying, and kind of the burnout that you might feel when you're applying to a lot of scholarships, as well as how you might boost your competitiveness. And at the very end, we'll have a drawing and we'll leave some time for questions. So just as a reminder, the session is going to be recorded. So if you have any questions or comments, you can ask them in the Q&A section. To start off, we're just going to go over SB 253. This is a Utah policy that it's for undocumented students are eligible to apply for privately funded scholarships in an institution if they have graduated from a Utah high school. So this is kind of just saying that if you graduate from a Utah high school, you're eligible to apply for scholarships through your school as long as they're privately funded. So a scholarships, that I can give an example of is the Brew and Dream Scholarship. It's one we have at SLIC, and it's specifically for undocumented students. It's privately funded through donations, and that's kind of what comes into play in this case. Something we did want to go over is that each month we put out a list of scholarships that undocumented students are eligible to apply for. You don't need to qualify for SB 253 to be able to apply for these scholarships. So to give you guys an example, back in February, we put out the March list. So these were going to be all the scholarships for March that we researched. And you can see we have the name and the date. And at the very end, we have the scholarship link, or the link to the document that will have all of the scholarships on it. So I will take you to our link tree where you can also find this at. Here you can see that we have a few other things on here, but for instance, we have the scholarship list for April. And when you either go through here or go to the link, it's going to take you here. And this is just a Google Doc of all of the scholarships that are going to be due in April. And it'll give you, just some basic information, the deadline, who it's open to, or who might be eligible to apply. And I did want to show that our list for May is going to start, the lists are going to start looking a little bit different. We did move it over to an Excel sheet just to make it a little bit easier for people to be able to look at things, look at the description and the deadlines. But this will be the list for me. So this is, again, we're coming out with this each month, just kind of to show that we're doing the research for you. You don't have to worry about looking for the scholarships, just applying for the scholarships. And then we did kind of want to go over what scholarships you might consider focusing on. And this is kind of just a guideline. Ultimately, it's what you find works best for you. But it can get overwhelming when you see a list of, I believe it was around 23 scholarships for me. One of the first things that if you are eligible for SB 253 is we recommend that you try to apply through scholarships through your school. So like I mentioned, the Brew and Dream Scholarship, if you can, and you're able to, focus on those first and try to get those done. Those are going to be the smallest pool of applicants. You're just competing against other people at your school. And then from there, if you're not eligible for SB 253, we suggest that you focus on local scholarships. So to give you an example of this, we have the Mountain America scholarships. So Mountain America is just a credit union in Utah. So you're just competing against other students in Utah. And then the other, or the third tier essentially, where you might consider looking at kind of last, is just national scholarships. This is going to be one of the largest pool of applicants. You're applying against any other student in any other state that's applying for this. And so this is just an example of that, the B. Davis Scholarship. We also have specific scholarships versus general scholarships. Another thing, which is another thing to keep in mind. So for instance, if we go back to the Mountain America, the Mountain America Scholarship, you're going to see that this is for eligible, specifically for eligible majors. And there are giving out 3 scholarships. And if we take, for instance, community and social services, for instance, I'm in sociology and nursing, right? So I might consider applying for this scholarship specifically because it does specify sociology and medical, versus B. Davis, which is open to any student regardless of major or age. There I might have a bit of a better chance of getting the scholarship. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at these types of things. Some of the other things to keep in mind is how many requirements the scholarship has. Do they require multiple letters of recommendation, a personal statement, a resume? What is the amount that is being awarded? Is it a smaller amount? Is it a larger amount? And that kind of goes into the next question, which is this worth your time and effort? Is it a small amount and it has a lot of requirements? And is it going to be worth all of the effort that you're putting into it? And I will turn it over now to Christina.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. So now speaking about applying for scholarships, when applying for a scholarship, remember to check the requirements. So does it have a minimum GPA requirement? What kind of transcript is it asking for? Unofficial or unofficial transcript? A personal statement? Does it need a resume or a CV? How many letters of recommendation would you need for it? Or does it not have any? The deadlines are a huge important. You want to make sure you're turning it on time, and you want to make sure you are doing everything appropriately and so it can run smoothly as possible. Is there a word limit in the personal statement or prompt? And so these are the specific requirements we want to make sure that we are checking in advance when it comes to applying for scholarships, right? Okay. And what is your personal statement? So personal statement is your story. It can include your experiences. What are your personal and academic goals, accomplishments, or awards? What barriers have you faced? What financial stressors have hindered your success? It is a great way to introduce yourself to the committee that is reviewing your scholarship application. So again, as a reminder, we want to make sure that this is your story. You are providing as much detail and as experience as possible. The scholarship committee is going to be getting to know you from this piece of paper you are sending them off with. And you want to make sure you are providing any detail that you want them to know about you, and that they are getting to know you and who you are through what you're writing.
And if I could just make a small comment here, Christina, is just that if you have a strong personal statement and if you've worked on it, you can use parts of it to make life easier for yourself. Sometimes scholarship prompts ask similar questions, and you can adjust your personal statement or take parts of it and utilize that.
Yeah, of course, that's absolutely correct. We can definitely use parts of our personal statement in other scholarships. We will definitely want to modify those specific essays that you want to use to be appropriate to that scholarship, and that it is applying for that for the specific prompt or specific question that you're asking of. But that is always definitely a strong personal statement can be used and rewritten, and we can always take away some stuff that so it can make the process easier for you in the long run. Yeah, thank you for that, Cynthia. And then what is a prompt? So a prompt is a specific question that is being asked. Your response needs to answer that question. Provide as much detail needed in order for your response to be clear. Most prompts do contain a word limit. Be sure to reach that word limit or be very close to it. We always want to make sure we're being very close to the word limit or reaching it. And avoid redundancy. Try not to repeat yourself. Instead, add details about the experience or situation. And I'm sure we have all had a similar experience where we try to say one specific thing, but we say it in different words, but it is the same thing that we're saying. So we definitely want to avoid doing that. And we want to make sure instead providing details or experiences that will add to what we're trying to say, right? Okay. And then again, personal statement versus a prompt. So we do want to make sure that we are making sure what we are looking at when it comes to responding to these essays. You want to make sure you're reading the question appropriately and responding it correctly, right? And then so the first one is a personal statement. It's more broad. So outline your academic and career goals. What made you decide to pursue these goals? And this is a 300 word limit. Although it is asking for something, it's asking for a specific topic, it is really broad. So you can be creative in your response with it. What led you to pursue your academic and career goals? You can work around it with that 300 word limit, of course, but you can definitely, it does give you more flexibility to do that versus the last two, which are prompts. And I'll read the second one. So COVID-19 has drastically impacted the world and will continue to change how society views our home as a place of living, working, and studying. What was your most memorable experience during the 2020 pandemic, and how has it changed your education, career, and life plans? And that is the 500 word limit. And so we can definitely see this one is more specific. It is asking about a specific question, a specific scenario, and you have to respond. How did the pandemic affect your life and your working and your studying? How did those things impact you? And so it definitely is asking for something a little bit more specific. And you do have a little bit of flexibility to go about that, but you always want to make sure you are answering that question in that specific time frame and hitting all those marks. As well as the bottom one, how will your academic studies contribute to your personal and professional goals? Please discuss any community service or extracurricular activities you have been involved in that relate to your goals. And that one is a 300 word limit. So with this one, it is a little bit more specific than the first one as well. And we want to make sure that we are providing those extracurricular activities. So those few things are going to take up that 300 word limit, and they are a little bit more specific to what they are asking for. Okay. And then these are just a few tips that I like to offer. Definitely you can use it for your scholarship essays, for any kind of writing, homework assignments or things like that. But in specific for the scholarship essays, we want to make sure we are always being as detailed as possible. Make every word count. So showcase yourself by being detailed in every word you use. Answer the prompt and make your response unique. Again, reach or stay incredibly close to the word limit, and avoid using contractions such as can't, don't, and won't. Instead, spell out the word cannot, do not, will not. This is considered informal writing, so we always want to be sure that we are being as professional as possible with these type of essays. And then be intentional with your rhetorical moves. So be persuasive. Be sure you are providing as much information as possible that you want to share. And again, this essay must read like you, so always provide personal experiences if you would like to share those, and be accommodating to the scholarship and what they're asking for. Make sure you're hitting all those marks. Okay. And then just wanted to take a little practice session with you. We're gonna go over an essay that was by a student that gave us permission to be able to use it for this, but we're gonna go through the process of how we review and edit essays. These are definitely some things that you can probably take home with you and look over your essays, or again, this is what I do during the reviewing and editing process with students. So definitely we're gonna go through one of those just to get some more feedback on it and what it could look like. Okay. And then, so this one is actually from the last question that we reviewed on personal statements and prompts. So how will your academic studies contribute to your personal and professional goals? Please discuss any community service or extracurricular activities you have been involved in that relate to your goals. And this is a 300 word limit. As we can see, this is probably a little bit smaller than 300 words. And I already see one thing that she used contractions on the I'm, and we can probably go through a little bit more to provide more detail. So I can go ahead and read this, and it's going to be, I'm pursuing an Associates of Science in Nursing. When I watched my nephew's birth, it was terrifying and beautiful. Watching the nurses that day made me realize my dream of becoming a neonatal nurse in the NICU. Completing my academic studies will allow me to reach this professional goal. I will learn all of the professional skills I need to become a competent and compassionate nurse. As I continue my education to ultimately obtain a master's degree, I know that my academic studies will contribute to both my personal and professional goals. I will continue to go to clinicals and meet extraordinary people, both nurses and patients, who will teach me not only about life, but about how to be a fantastic nurse. I will also be able to use my education to volunteer my time as a nurse to serve underrepresented populations in Utah and advocate for these populations. So already she's a great writer. She has provided so much detail about what she wants to do in her career, right? And then we're just going to see how we can develop this a little bit more. Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, avoid using of contractions. And then she added more details. So, right after the first sentence, so far I have been 82 hours of clinicals. If she had not mentioned that, we would not have known that at all. That's a huge experience that a scholarship committee might want to know. She is putting in the work. And then now it's going to meet the word limits. She's answering all the questions in the prompt. She's making sure she actually missed a little bit about how extracurricular activities that she has done. And then answering this question, she added more detail and met the word limit. And she ended with a great sentence. We always want to make sure we are ending with a statement sentence. That's going to allow us to make sure that they're going to want to meet us. They're going to want to, you don't want to end it off like, oh, I went to school, I'm going to school, and I want the scholarship. That is a little bit closed off. We want to make sure we are being open and welcoming, and that with these words, they're going to be wanting to know more, get to know us more, and definitely see that we deserve the scholarship, right? And then, so this is just a little bit, so this is my information of me. So that if you ever want to have any meetings, any questions about any of this, I can definitely be a resource for you if you like. I have drop-in hours via Zoom on Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. So there is my meeting information and the password. If this does not work or you just want to have a quick question or go asynchronously, I do have my email on there as well, and you can always feel free to email me. Or there is a QR code as well that provides a PDF link to a file that has some questions and just to get started about your personal statement. If you want to fill that out or use it as practice to get a personal statement started if you haven't already, or maybe you want to apply some of these to what you do have on your personal statement, feel free to ask any questions about that, or if you want to reach me with an essay that you already have written out, feel free to do so. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay, and letters of recommendation. So ask someone who knows you as well as a student, as a volunteer, or a leader. This does not include your family or friends. And again, be courteous of their time. So make sure you are asking 2 to 3 weeks in advance at the most. And let them know when the scholarship is due and the name of the scholarship you are applying for. This is definitely going to help them making sure that they are, especially if it's one of those email ones that are sending a link so that they can keep an eye out for it and know that this is coming from you. Ask the person if they would like to see your resume as a resource, a part of the interactions or experiences you have had together. And this one is actually, I have done this before in the past where I had a teacher in high school that I have not had in contact for 2 years, but I have had a few experiences of working with them in volunteering, internship, stuff like that. And I asked her to write a letter of recommendation for me, but she hadn't seen me in 2 years, right? So she doesn't know what I've been up to. But with that resume, she actually was able to know that I've been continuously doing the same type of work, and she can add that or include that when she's writing her response, her letter recommendation for me. So definitely a great resource for those people you ask. Okay, and benefits of applying for scholarships. So funds to pay for tuition, fees, books, or supplies, always a great bonus for scholarships. That's why we're applying for them. And then if you earn more than the cost of tuition, you may receive a refund to cover other expenses, which is a great added bonus. You can add more experience to your resume or other scholarship applications. This helps improve your writing skills. You're constantly writing, right? Personal writing especially is so difficult. So this is going to help improve those skills. You can participate in service learning opportunities, and you can receive mentorship. Sometimes scholarships do offer a mentor to not keep an eye on you, but definitely be a support to you. And that is always, you want to have a support system, especially during these times, and that can hold you accountable and just make your overall experience a lot better. And boosting your competitiveness. So ways to boost your competitiveness are by increasing or maintaining your GPA. Set those goals for yourselves and make sure you can reach them. So this is going to also help you in the scholarships, participating in clubs or sports, volunteering for civic engagement opportunities, completing internships, joining student government or association at your school, attending public events held by different community organizations and colleges and universities. The goal is always to network. You're going to always want to meet so many people that are going to eventually offer so many opportunities in the long run. I know me and Cynthia have had a few experiences with this where and me personally, I took a class at Slick that actually was offered from the University of Utah at the time. And I met this professor, and I was a little bit like, I kind of don't want to do it, but I still went to the table. I talked to the professor, I took the class, and later on, I actually came back. The class has a coexisting writing studio. I came back as a writing studio mentor. So I was able to work with the professor. And then from there, I actually was given the opportunity to be the Dream Center Writing and Rhetoric Fellow. So what I'm doing now. So that one meeting with that one professor led to so many other opportunities and the same type of work that I enjoy doing and that I want to be part of my career. And so we're always going to want to take that. Sometimes we don't want to take the chance, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and just to kind of like add to that, like Christina said, it can be at times scary, to try and join a new club where you don't really know anyone or go volunteer. But they are really great opportunities. Personally, I am part of the Civically Engaged Scholars at SLIC, and I am also part of Somos Mas, which are just programs that not only, they do of course help boost your competitiveness, but they are also experiences that you get to have and that you get to take with you. Things like volunteering and joining clubs, you can, like it says at the bottom, the goal is to network. Networking can get you to more opportunities to meet different people that may help you in the future, like in Christina's case. So yeah, take that leap, like Christina said, and go for it. It may be scary, but ultimately you're not going to regret it.
And we definitely want to make sure we understand that a burnout happens, but we always want to encourage persistence in applying. The process of applying for scholarships is stressful and discouraging at times. You may not always receive what you hope to gain, but do not lose hope and confidence in yourself. We constantly encourage you to apply to scholarships, because that one scholarship might be that one that sees the potential we see in you. We're always available to support you in any way possible. So definitely constantly be applying to scholarships. We always encourage that.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that persistency can really be helpful. I know from personal experience that I've received about 6 scholarships, but I have applied for about 30. So it's, it is a process of continuing to try. The other thing we did want to mention is burnout. When you're applying for scholarships, you're always thinking about the next deadline, the next scholarship that you have to apply for. And sometimes it's okay to let some of those important deadlines pass by. I know Christina has. Sometimes you just need a bit of a break, and that's okay. Take that break. One of the other things is don't feel like, so for instance, Christina went over the scholarship essay. That student won that scholarship, and that student is undocumented. They did not reference the fact that they were undocumented. They spoke about their experience at clinicals, just what they wanted to do with their life, what they were passionate about. And so don't always feel like you have to, speak about the fact that you're undocumented. Of course, bring it up if you would like and if you feel comfortable with that. But if you don't, that is totally okay as well. You can win scholarships without mentioning that. Also, don't feel like you have to sell your story or that you have to sell yourself. You can don't give parts of yourself away that you're not quite comfortable with. You can always focus on other things, like other different experiences that you have gone through, or that things that you are passionate about. But like Christina said, we are always here to support you. You got this. You just have to keep up the persistency. And Christina is fantastic at what she does. And we are always here to help. Which brings us to this. We see you, we believe in you, and we are 100% committed to your success. We are here for you, and you can set up a meeting with myself, with Brenda, our coordinator, with Christina, if you guys want to talk, if you guys want to go through the scholarships personally so we can see which apply to you. We are here to see you succeed and to be with you every step of the way. I did want to mention that we are, this is the first webinar for UndocuWeek, or our first event for UndocuWeek. And there are other events that we will be holding. So if you want to scan the QR code or follow the URL, you can find some of our different events, and we are most definitely excited to be hosting them. We hope to see you at more of these. But the last thing is just the winners of the drawing. And it looks like we have 3 winners, and that is Esmeralda, Pablo, and Claudia. If you guys are on this call, hopefully, we ask that you send us an email at dreamcenter@slcc.edu. If you could just send us your name and your S number, and we will get your gift card to you. Okay, all right. But aside from that, thank you so much for attending and for coming to hear us talk. We hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, everyone. And if there are any questions, feel free to go to the Q&A as well.
Yes, thank you, Christina. I forgot about that. Yes, if you guys have questions, please ask them in the Q&A. We'll be here. We'll be sticking around for around 5 to 8 minutes for any questions that you guys may have.
Hi, so we have a question here from Esmeralda. She is asking, I know there isn't a limit to how many scholarships I apply to, but is there a limit on how many I receive? So I think a good person to answer this would probably be Cynthia. This would be, I think it does depend on your institution, but we definitely want to make sure.
Yeah, so as far as generally, if they're local or national scholarships, you can receive as many as those as as you get. Some of them do have a requirement where it says if you have other scholarships, you may not be eligible for that. But aside from that, you should be able to continue stacking those scholarships. As far as the institution, they can get one. As far as the institution goes, you are able, at least as far as SLIC goes, you are able to get more than one scholarship. If you do have any left over at the end where you maybe received, if we give an example, you received a scholarship through SLIC that was 1,500 and then another 1,000 through a local scholarship, you'd have about 2,500. And anything remaining after your tuition is paid would go directly to you, and you would be able to use that for supplies, books, whatever it is that you needed. So you are able to receive more than just, the one, and it shouldn't be quite a limit. Thank you for the question. All right, if no one has any other questions, we will be ending the webinar now. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you at some of the other events.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.